Dear friends, you are watching 3S Vision, an innovative distance learning channel. We have started a series of videos about international financial reporting standards and international accounting standards, followed one by one. It is most important and desired that if you are interested in improving your learnings in international financial reporting standards and international accounting standards, subscribe to our channel and click on bell icon to get our future updates. Dear friends, in preparation of IFRS 4, we tried our level best to cover the maximum matter of discussion, which will be helpful to understand the IFRS 4. Therefore, watch full video for its complete knowledge. IFRS 4 Insurance Contracts. We will discuss here in this video its 5 main elements that are number 1 objective, number 2 scope, number 3 recognition and measurement, number 4 disclosure, and number 5 effective date and transition. Objectives. The objective of this IFRS is to specify the financial reporting for insurance contracts by any entity that issues such contracts. In particular, this IFRS requires number 1 limited improvements to accounting by insurers for insurance contracts. Number 2 disclosure that identifies and explains the amounts in an insurer's financial statements arising from insurance contracts and help users of those financial statements to understand the amount, timing, and uncertainty of future cash flow from insurance contracts. Scope. An entity shall apply this IFRS to number 1 insurance contracts including reinsurance contracts that it issues and reinsurance contracts that it holds. Secondly, financial instruments that it issues with a discretionary participation features, including financial instruments that contain such features. This IFRS does not address other aspects of accounting by insurers, such as accounting for financial assets held by insurers and financial liabilities issued by, except in the transitional provisions. An entity shall not apply this IFRS to number 1 product warranties issued directly by a manufacturer, dealer, and retailer. Number 2 employers' assets and liabilities under employee benefit plans. Number 3 retirement benefit obligations reported by defined benefit retirement plans. Number 4 contractual rights. Number 5 contingent consideration payable or receivable in a business combination. And finally, number 6 direct insurance contracts that the entity holds. For ease of reference, this IFRS describes any entity that issues an insurance contract as an insurer, whether or not the issuer is regarded as an insurer for legal or supervisory purposes. A reinsurance contract is a type of insurance contract. Accordingly, all references in this IFRS to insurance contracts also apply to reinsurance contracts. Embedded derivatives. IAS 39 requires an entity to separate some embedded derivatives from their host contract, measure them at fair value, and include changes in their fair value in profit or loss. IAS 39 applies to derivatives embedded in an insurance contract unless the embedded derivative is itself an insurance contract. Unbundling of deposit components. Some insurance contracts contain both an insurance component and a deposit component. In some cases, an insurer is required or permitted to unbundle those components. A. Unbundling is required if both the following conditions are met. Number 1. The insurer can measure the deposit component, including any embedded surrender options, separately, that is, without considering the insurance component. Number 2. The insurer's accounting policies do not otherwise require it to recognize all obligations and rights arising from the deposit component. B. Unbundling is permitted but not required if the insurer can measure the deposit component separately, as in A1, but its accounting policies require it to recognize all obligations and rights arising from the deposit component, regardless of the basis used to measure those rights and obligations. And C. Unbundling is prohibited if an insurer cannot measure the deposit component separately as in A1. The third element of this IFRS, that is recognition and measurement. We will discuss here temporary exemption from some other IFRSs. This IFRS exempts an insurer from applying those criteria to its accounting policies for A. Insurance contracts that it issues, including related acquisition costs and related intangible assets, and B. Reinsurance contracts that it holds. Liability adequacy test. An insurer shall assess at the end of each reporting period whether it recognized insurance liabilities are adequate using current estimates of future cash flows under its insurance contracts. If that assessment shows that the carrying amount of its insurance liabilities, less related deferred acquisition costs and related intangible assets, is inadequate in the light of the estimated future cash flow, the entire deficiency shall be recognized in profit or loss. Impairment of reinsurance assets. If a cedent's reinsurance asset is impaired, the cedent shall reduce its carrying amount accordingly and recognize that impairment loss in profit or loss. A reinsurance asset impaired if and only if: number 1, there is objective evidence as a result of an event that occurred after initial recognition of the reinsurance asset that the cedent may not receive all amounts due to it under the terms of the contract, and second, that event has a reliably measurable impact on the amount that the cedent will receive from the reinsurer. Changes in accounting policies. An insurer may change its accounting policies for insurance contracts if and only if the change makes the financial statements more relevant to the economic decision-making needs of users and no less reliable, or more reliable and no less relevant to those needs. An insurer shall judge relevance and reliability by the criteria in IAS 8. To justify changing its accounting policies for insurance contracts, an insurer shall show that the change brings its financial statements closer to meeting the criteria in IAS 8, but the change need not achieve full compliance with those criteria. The following specific issues are discussed below. Number 1, current interest rates. Number 2, continuation of existing practices. Number 3, prudence. Number 4, future investment margins. And number 5, shadow accounting. First of all, current market interest rates. An insurer is permitted but not required to change its accounting policies so that it remeasures designated insurance liabilities to reflect current market interest rates and recognizes changes in those liabilities in profit or loss. Secondly, continuation of existing practices. An insurer may continue the following practices. Number 1, measuring insurance liabilities on an undiscounted basis. Number 2, measuring contractual rights to future investment management fees. Number 3, using non-uniform accounting policies for the insurance contracts. Number 3, prudence. An insurer need not change its accounting policies for insurance contracts to eliminate excessive prudence. However, if an insurer already measures its insurance contracts with sufficient prudence, it shall not introduce additional prudence. Number 4, future investment margins. An insurer need not change its accounting policies for insurance contracts to eliminate future investment margins. However, there is a rebuttable presumption that an insurer's financial statements will become less relevant and reliable if it introduces an accounting policy that reflects future investment margins in the measurement of insurance contracts, unless those margins affect the contractual payments. Number 5. Shadow accounting. In some accounting models, realized gains or losses on an insurer's assets have a direct effect on the measurement of some or all of A. its insurance liabilities, B. related deferred acquisition costs, and C. related intangible assets. An insurer is permitted but not required to change its accounting policies so that a recognized but unrealized gain or loss on an asset affects those measurements in the same way that a realized gain or loss does. The related adjustment to the insurance liability shall be recognized in other comprehensive income if and only if the unrealized gains or losses are recognized in other comprehensive income. This practice is sometimes described as shadow accounting. The fourth element of this IFRS, that is disclosure. Explanation of recognized amounts. An insurer shall disclose information that identifies and explains the amounts in its financial statements arising from insurance contracts, nature and extent of risk arising from insurance contracts. An insurer shall disclose information that enables users of its financial statements to evaluate the nature and extent of risk arising from insurance contracts. The fifth and last element of this IFRS, that is effective date and transition. The transitional provisions apply both to an entity that is already applying IFRSs and to an entity that applies IFRSs for the first time. An entity shall apply this IFRS for annual periods beginning on or after 1st January 2005. Earlier application is encouraged. If an entity applies this IFRS for an earlier period, it shall disclose that fact. Financial guarantee contracts, amendments to IAS 39 and IFRS 4, issued in August 2005. An entity shall apply those amendments for annual periods beginning on or after 1st January 2006. Earlier application is encouraged. If an entity applies those amendments for an earlier period, it shall disclose that fact and apply the related amendments to IAS 39 and IAS 32 at the same time. At the end, we welcome your valuable comments for the improvement of our videos. Thanks and goodbye.